The Mazda CX-8 could be one of the best and smartest family SUV options on the market if you need a 6 or 7 seater. And I'm going to tell you my tip for which one is the best model in the range. It's not this top spec version. You might have to stay tuned and see which one it is. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. Smash like, love saying that. And also hit subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned. I've got plenty more reviews coming. Mazda says there are 9 different variants of the CX-8 available, but that includes a choice of 2 different engines as well. So there's the G25 petrol engine or the D35 diesel. There is no G35 turbo petrol model in this range, which is a shame because that is the highlight engine in some of the other Mazda models that you can buy. However, if you are on a really tight budget and you want to buy the best, most affordable version of this car, then you should be looking at the G25 Sport. It's the entry-level model. It's front-wheel drive, so that might be a deal breaker for you, but it is very affordable and comes well equipped as well. However, my pick of the range is actually the D35 Touring Active. It's just over $50,000 and it does offer a lot of stuff for your cash, including things like 19-inch alloy wheels, LED daytime running lights and headlights, LED fog lights, and there's a bunch of really nice stuff inside, including a very interesting interior finish, which makes it feel a little bit special. The CX-8 has just seen a bit of a nip and tuck to keep it fresh and keep it up to date with some of the newer SUVs that are alternatives to this that you might want to also consider. I'm going to tell you 3 that I think are really good right now. The first option is the Hyundai Santa Fe. I would have it as a diesel. I wouldn't bother with the V6 front-wheel drive petrol. Personally, I think the diesel is a better fit, as it is with this car, and I think it offers pretty good value for money, even though it does start a little bit more expensive than this. There's a hybrid model available too if you want that, and that might be right for you. My second choice is the Kia Sorento. I actually prefer the look of that car and the way it drives as well, so I would choose it over a Santa Fe unless you get a sharp deal on a Hyundai. Now, that Kia is a fantastic looking SUV. It's got lots of tech and a really smart interior too, and it offers pretty good value. And you can get it with a choice of hybrid or plug-in hybrid, depending on what you need. And if we're talking plug-in hybrids, then another alternative you might want to check out is the Mitsubishi Outlander. It comes with petrol in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, or if you want, you can get a plug-in hybrid all-wheel drive model. There's 3 different grades available for the PHEV version as well, so that might suit you better. But tell me what you think in the comments section below. The CX-8 is probably bigger than you actually realize. A lot of people say it's just like a bigger CX-5, but actually it's built on the CX-9 wheelbase and it's more than 4.9 meters long. So if you have a tight garage, you're going to want to make sure you do your measuring before you buy this car because it's not little. Okay, so it's got some pretty good rear door action here. They open nice and wide. Obviously, as you would expect, it does have some pretty handy child seat stuff going on. Tell you more about that in a sec. And you should know that there's a spare wheel under the boot floor as well. Now, speaking of the boot, let's take a look. As a family wagon or 7-seater, does it have a big enough boot when all the seats are up? That's not too bad. 207 litres is what Mazda says is on offer here, and that is enough to fit a couple of school bags or maybe a suitcase or 2, or maybe a small pram if it's upright. So those sorts of things do make a pretty big difference if you are buying a 7-seater for family duties, full-time family duties that is. Now under here there's even more storage, so you could slide something in under there, maybe wet clothes or something like that. And if you do want to fold these seats down, it's very simple to do so, a lot easier than some of those other ones with the pull tab cords, and that does offer you a fair bit more space. You'll see the figure on your screen now. Makes it a more practical 5-seat SUV with a big boot if that's what you need. So if you're that buyer, this car could be right for you. If you're thinking of trading up from a pre-update version of the CX-8, well, you're not going to be blown away by the changes to the interior because they aren't massive. Remember, this is a pretty modest update to this car, so it doesn't feel necessarily that different inside. However, that's no bad thing because this is still a very nice SUV to sit in, and it does have some pretty nice appointments. This is one of the top spec models, so it's got this quilted leather finish on the seats. You've also got heated seats and a heated steering wheel, but then this is one of the higher grade models, as I said, so you're looking at more than 60 grand to get these sort of features. There's wireless phone charging in this grade. You don't get it in all grades, although all grades do get this 10.25 inch screen. It's not a touch screen though, so if you are one of those people who rely on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto a lot, that might get annoying for you because you have to use this rotary dial instead to get around the menus there. There are shortcut buttons to jump around a little bit easier, but it's still not as simple as a touchscreen would be. But thankfully, there are still a lot of physical controls for the climate control, and there's buttons down here for your fan and that sort of stuff. I like that, but I don't love the mix of integration here. So it could be better, but it does still feel pretty nice in here, and it is still a pretty practical cabin too. So you've got a pair of cup holders between the front seats here. You've got a twin lidded center console bin here with 2 USB-C ports in there as well. There's also bottle holders in the doors. And look, it's nice. So let's check out the second row and see if it is as well. Second row space in the CX-8 is actually quite good. Remember, this car might sort of look like a CX-5 with a bigger bum, but it is on the CX-9 wheelbase, so it does have quite a lot of space in the second row. This seat's set for me at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. As you can see, I've got heaps of space, so if I wanted to give my imaginary third row passengers a bit more room, I could move this seat forward and still have, you know, a comfortable enough amount of space if they needed more leg room, for example. That is a nice little practicality element of this second row setup. And in this grade, as I mentioned, this is one of the high spec ones, so it does have some nice features back here. It's got outboard seat heating as well. However, you do get rear seat directional air vents in all models, which is good to see. And you also get some pretty handy storage options. There's a pair of twin pockets on each of the seat backs, and you get a fold down with cup holders as well, and USB chargers in some grades. I don't think you get that in the base grade, but anyway, it's pretty neat to have those little features. And it's a comfy seat as well. So I guess I have to get in the third row now. Okay, for all you backseat bandits out there, you're going to appreciate that there is actually quite a bit of space back here. Now, I've set this seat so I'd be able to sit in front of myself and still be comfortable. And I've got, you know, a surprising amount of space back here. Look, headroom's not great, obviously. Mazda says that you should be able to fit someone up to 170 centimeters comfortably in the third row. Yeah, I'm a bit too tall for that, but I do have enough leg room to sort of be comfortable for, I mean, a shortish trip, but I wouldn't want to have this as a full-time adult occupant position. But then again, if you've got kids who love riding in the back, they should be pretty comfy and enjoy the ride back here. Apart from the fact that there are no vents back here, so on hot days or really cold days, they might not love it. But there are 2 USB chargers in the panels here, and there's cup holders as well. One other thing you might want to know is that the ISOFIX situation is, you got window seat ISOFIX in the second row. There's no ISOFIX in the third row, but you do get top tethers in the third row. So you could fit a booster seat in the back if you needed to. And you've also got 3 top tethers in the second row. So yeah, if you've got a lot of kids, this could be a pretty good fit for your family. So I mentioned before, you've got the choice of the G25 or D35. If you've never heard those terminologies before, don't worry, it's pretty simple. The G25 is a 2.5 litre petrol engine, non-turbocharged, but it's a 4-cylinder engine. You'll see the outputs on your screen now. They're not too bad, but it's not necessarily a powerhouse engine. It's got a 6-speed automatic transmission and it's front-wheel drive. Like I said, that could be a deal breaker depending on what you intend to do with your SUV. If you buy the D35, it's not a 3.5 litre engine, it's a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, but it does have a fair bit more torque, so it does make things a lot more effortless, and that's why it's my pick of the CX-8 engine range. Now, it also comes with a 6-speed automatic transmission, but it's all-wheel drive, and it does have some new off-road modes if you want to go off-road, but this isn't really a proper off-roader. This video I'm shooting on the launch event for the CX-8, so these aren't the roads that I would usually drive. I live in the Blue Mountains. This is somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Victoria that we're at the moment. So it is kind of a different drive experience to what I would normally do in an SUV like this or any test car. So I haven't been able to do the usual stuff with a drop off to daycare and some urban and highway driving. It's been mainly country road, a little bit of highway driving now, but so I can't really speak to what it's like to live with as an urban runaround, although I can say that the ride is pretty firm, so you might find that it is a little bit bumpy and lumpy over sharp edges. Obviously it does have pretty big wheels and low profile tires. This is a pretty high spec version that I'm driving now, and so if you buy one of the lower grade models with maybe a little bit more tire sidewall, it could be a bit more friendly when it comes to the ride comfort. It's not uncomfortable, I would just say that it's not the most comfortable SUV that you can buy. However, it does have the typical Mazda driving manners in that it is pretty eager in terms of the way that it behaves, and the steering is also very, very chatty. So you will notice that the steering has some feel to it, and when you just adjust the steering a little bit, it's quite direct. Also, if you're going around a corner and there's some bumps in the corner, you will notice that at times it can jostle the steering wheel almost violently even. So that's something you might want to look out for. All right, so what about the powertrains? I think the diesel is a much better fit for the CX-8. When it launched originally, it only came with diesel, but then they added a petrol because they realized that not everyone wants diesel. So the petrol engine, it's okay. It does feel a bit breathless, and that was only with 2 adults on board. I'd hate to see it with 7 adults on board because it could be lethargic. It also revs pretty hard, so if you do put your foot down, it's not necessarily relying on the engine's torque because it doesn't have that much pulling power to rely on, so it will use the gearbox quite a bit, and that can mean that you'll see pretty high revs at times if you buy the petrol one. Yeah, so that's what I mean about that engine. It is pretty revvy. If you buy the diesel, however, it's a more relaxed and enjoyable drive experience, and it does have extra pulling power to just make things, well, much more effortless. The road noise is okay, there's a bit to contend with. It's not too bad though, it's quieter than some other Mazdas that I've driven, like the CX-30 and CX-3, so it is a relatively refined and mostly pretty comfy family SUV to drive. What about efficiency for these 2 different engine options? So the D35 diesel models are more efficient. The official combined cycle fuel consumption figure is 6 litres per 100 Ks, which is pretty good for the class. And if you buy the G25 petrol model, then the official figure is 8.1 litres per 100. That's what you should be able to achieve across a mix of driving. I didn't see that for this launch drive, however. In the petrol models, you'll see on your screen now what I saw on the trip computer. Not fantastic, and that was with only 2 adults on board and a lot of higher speed country road driving around 80 to 100 Ks an hour, a little bit of gravel thrown in, but I wasn't asking that much of the engine to achieve that kind of fuel consumption. And if you're wondering what I saw in the diesel version of this vehicle, you'll see that on your screen now. Look, not amazing, but certainly better than the petrol was. The Mazda CX-8 scored the maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating in 2018, which is a few years ago now, obviously, but it does still come pretty well equipped when it comes to safety tech. There's autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian detection. You don't get cyclist or junction detection like in some other newer SUVs, but it does come with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert as standard, as well as lane keeping assistance and a rear auto braking function too. All models come with a reversing camera and parking sensors as standard. However, you have to buy one of the higher spec grades if you want a surround view camera. And honestly, it's a big SUV. It's not that easy to see out of, so it should be standard across the range in my opinion. It does have 6 airbags fitted, including curtain airbags that go all the way to the back row. Mazda offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty in Australia, and there's a 5-year cap price servicing plan as well. However, you need to know that the petrol models have longer service intervals. They're 12 months or 15,000 Ks. The diesel ones have 10,000 K intervals. So as you'll see the prices on your screen now, the actual cost for owning a diesel model for a longer period will be higher because it will be more expensive to maintain. However, both models, diesel or petrol, come with 5 years of roadside assist included. I reckon the Mazda CX-8 is still a very compelling option for family SUV buyers. However, it doesn't feel maybe as fresh as it could, but I think there's still a lot to like here. Tell me what you think in the comments section below. Would you choose a CX-8 or would you choose something completely different? I'd love to know. Hit me up and like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next one.